Motherfucking goddamn orange peel beef.
Welcome back to the show. It's one fucking season time. Ooh. Once again, not one fucking hour, one fucking season, because tonight we're talking about a full season of a TV show. But before we get into that, I'm Evan Husney, and to my left we got Big T. I'm going to go to old school here. Tom Fitzgerald in the house.
Oh, snap.
Yeah,
Trivia question.
Trivia question. Yeah.
What was the genesis of
Gerund?
my nickname?
Yeah, the
Gerund
Gerund Genesis.
Look it up.
Look it up. Comment if you know. All right, and all the way to the right, we got returning here as always, Mr. Marcus Herring. Marcus, what's going on?
My name actually does end in ing, right? Which is Gerundish, right?
Oh, you're a Gerund. Herring Marcus would be your 90s film.
Marcus.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
No, get that cursor off my face tonight. All right?
Is there a cursor on you? Oh, there it is. Oh, shit.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
If there's a cursor, if anyone in the audience sees a cursor on my face, send an email directly to Evan about
Actually,
it.
if you see a cursor on Marcus's face, just put the time code in the comments. Keep track of that thing.
I heard a curse in your face is good luck in Guam.
Curse. It's the cursor.
Right. That's the curse, which
Curse of the cursor,
which is very apropos for tonight, because our special guest for tonight's episode, maybe the most qualified person to be on the show tonight, because she has recently got her master's in social work from the Columbia School of Social Work, specializing in advanced clinical practice. We have Rémy Bennett joining us.
Yes.
Wow.
Doing my thesis on Nathan Fielder. So.
That's right.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's quite a degree line, too.
Quite a degree.
I had to read my notes in order to get that correctly.
Right.
All right, so what are we doing tonight? Of course, we talked about this last week. Very excited. This is our third episode dedicated to the work of Nathan Fielder. Basically, this show is the one fucking hour is we either do movies from the 70s or Nathan Fielder work, which is basically all we cover here. But tonight, we're getting into his latest, which is season 2 of The Rehearsal, which just wrapped up on HBO. Very excited to get into that. Previously in the archives, we've covered The Curse. All four of us got together and we jammed on that for 2 hours. We went on The Curse. What an incredible work that was. Holy shit. And of course, we covered Finding Francis, the amazing finale episode of Nathan For You.
Featuring the love search of a Bill Gates impersonator.
Incredible. An incredible work is that.
We're running out of stuff, Nathan stuff. We're going to have to do On Your Side next.
Sure, of course. We'll go to his obscure Canadian work, of course. So anyway, let's, I think, that's what we're doing tonight. So if you're not used to the one fucking season format, we're going to talk about the whole season tonight. Under the clock, I think we can get it in 6 eps. And if you haven't watched it, you should definitely go out and watch both seasons of the show. But the second season, very interesting, fascinating stuff. But before we do that, I'd like to give a quick shout out to the one fucking hour Patreon. Patreon.com/one fucking hour is where you can sign up to become a Momen and support the show. It's the best way to do so if you like what we're doing. It's just $5 a month. It gives you instant access to all of our bonus episodes, 24-hour early access to every single episode, so you get the full day jump on all the other schmucks to watch their new eps. So we appreciate that. But if you want to keep all your bonus content and all that exclusive access on YouTube, you can, of course, go to our channel homepage, find the join button, click that, and become a Momen. Same price, same perks, same benefits. And we appreciate it, man. Thank you to everybody who signed up. A lot of new signups in the last few weeks. And something we mentioned at the end of last week's episode is that we're going to be going on hiatus for 2 weeks after tonight's episode. So if you're going to miss us badly for 2 weeks and you're not up on the Patreon, you might want to get up on there, because there's dozens of hours of bonus stuff on there.
It's bananas.
Get your fix up there.
Lots of fun. You've got What Women Want.
Oh, right. That gem.
Full-length audio commentary.
That's right.
Wow.
Crazy, we did that.
That happened. That was a dare, actually.
Yeah,
Oh
it
my
was.
We lost a bet.
Yes, we did.
Did a full commentary on What Women Want.
That's
with Mel
right.
Gibson.
That's right.
But lots more. Texas Chainsaw, Blue Velvet, full commentaries.
Yeah.
And most recently, the infamous Bill Maher film, Pizza Man. We did a full watch. And
Okay.
it was a heavy experience.
It was.
That's right,
Yeah,
baby.
it was heavy.
So take a look. If you've been wondering what's going on over there in Patreon land.
Yeah,
maybe
now's a good
the
time. Now's a good time to do that.
While we're all in Bali, we're going on vacation.
Right, we're going to a company retreat. We'll be away for a while, but it's going to be awesome. So everybody strap in for that. Yeah, tons of stuff up there. A lot of episodes centered around recommendations and further reading. Great stuff to check out. So anyway, are you guys ready to get into this? Are we going to do it?
Yes, sir.
All right. So, all right, here we go. Going to get ready to
start the clock.
All right, here we go. Everybody get in, locked and loaded. Here we go. Ah! Okay. Here we go. The Rehearsal, Season 2. Just going to read a quick synopsis for this. And of course, this episode tonight, we're not going to be doing a lot of the fancy cutaways for this as the show just aired. So you should go out, watch it. It's available, support it, do all those things. But here is the synopsis for The Rehearsal, Season 2. Nathan Fielder turns his attention to the world of aviation, focusing on communication breakdowns between pilots and co-pilots. Partnering with former NTSB board member, can't wait to talk about him tonight, John Golia, he constructs hyper-realistic simulations, including a full-scale replica of a major airport to train first officers in assertiveness. The season introduces bizarre methods like a fake singing competition to teach pilots how to say no under pressure. Fielder also stages key moments from Captain Sully Sullenberger's life to explore the emotional roots of his decision-making, of course, during the infamous Miracle over the Hudson. The season culminates in Fielder piloting a real Boeing 737 in a dramatic finale over the Mojave Desert. As always, the show blurs the line between documentary and performance, raising questions, of course, about rehearsals and reality itself. So there we go. The Rehearsal Season 2. Something interesting when we were digging into this to prepare for tonight was, watching a couple of his Q&As he's been doing recently and talking about the genesis of this show, which I think is very interesting. Because when we talked about The Curse, Benny Safdie, Nathan Fielder, they were very much interested and fascinated with the phenomenon of sort of, home renovation reality. That was kind of where the root of this idea came from. Now, of course, The Rehearsal has a full other first season, which is very different than this season. And this explores, the idea of rehearsing, moments in life and getting prepared for those. Yes, that's a common motif here, but it's a completely different setting. And so for this, Nathan was fascinated by a Canadian TV show called Mayday, which is basically a sort of true crime show that takes black boxes from crash sites and tries to retroactively figure out what went wrong. And what was very fascinating that he found during being fascinated by this and coming up with this show is the idea that the aviation industry spends so much time meticulously reconstructing when a crash happens, every piece and part of a plane to figure out mechanically exactly what went wrong. They put so much money and effort, and they're very good at doing that and doing it very successfully. But the one area they don't really emphasize or look into that much is the human element. Of course, human error and the emotions of the pilot and the things and the communications and the things that happen between pilots during a moment of crisis in the air. So that's where what he's examining with this show. Feels very random, but it's a perfect fodder for his Fielder method and for the idea of what he likes to explore.
And I haven't seen Mayday. Maybe I have actually on YouTube once, but I'm assuming there's a lot of reenactments in it.
Right.
Most likely, yeah.
And reenactments are also known as rehearsals in a way. They're,
Sure.
like play versions of reality. I that probably was inspirational to him too, because it's a lot of reenactment energy in Nathan Fielder stuff. But I got to say that right when the season 2 started, I immediately, maybe I'm wrong, went to just making an analogy that he was making to himself and maybe very slyly to the viewer here, that it's analogous. The cockpit is a relationship.
Yeah,
is the marriage is the like living together.
Yeah,
and you're steering the ship, and sometimes it crashes. And like maybe it's all the root of the crash is like bad communication. I made that analogy the second the show started, and it didn't go further in that direction, but I did sense that that was kind of riding along with the narrative of the show as it went on. And there were a few allusions to it because, like that one pilot who doesn't go out much, goes on a date. It's like 10 versions of him. And that kind of thing. What do you guys think about that? Like, that's what I gravitated towards that immediately. That this was a metaphor. Relationship.
And I think what's interesting is in this series, there's so many threads like that. Like we have this kind of metaphor or this allegory or this container that we have these like themes within, but he's not tying them with like a pretty bow. Like each of them are kind of amorphous in the way he explores them, and then they're alluded to. They get picked up, and then he kind of drops them. And I think that in itself is reflective of something about potentially his own character. Or
yes, that's
tackles.
What. Yeah.
So it's
right.
It's everything.
Exactly.
Right. So it's like we can go there. We're going to approach it, but we're not going to quite fully.
Him saying like, why did me and my co-pilot wife crash the plane of our marriage?
Yeah.
I was inferring that, and he's finding a sideways way to investigate it.
Right.
Like instead of directly, like let's read books about divorce or something like that. But like,
and it's not linear, so each episode can maybe touch upon one of those themes and then circuitously go back.
You know what? Because that does happen in the first episode. If we're starting off with the first episode, it is that nice guy pilot who's having a weird time with his girlfriend. They don't live near each other at all.
Moody.
She's like,
Moody is
right. And she keeps saying, like, he's a little worried, like, he might meet somebody at her Starbucks job. And she's like, sure enough, like, oh, Bob came by with roses again. He's so nice.
No,
customer.
It was Angel that was giving her a anklet. That's right.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
so that maybe fused that in my mind about like
there's definitely
because they're the first people in the cockpit. They're steering the ship. There is a couple. I'm sorry, in the first episode. That's all I'm saying.
There's a subtext between both seasons, I think, of just him trying to understand how to have a relationship with someone else.
Yes.
In the first season, he's living with that woman. Like,
exactly.
It's like he's trying to help people. There's always two things going on. It's like there's the mission of the first season was like, I'm trying to help people, kind of like Nathan for you, help people rehearse their lives, but also he's exploring his own, like how he interacts with people and how he could affect his relationship. And this season's like, I'm going to go bigger. I'm going to help the world with this like airplane scheme, but I'm also exploring my own relationship with
and
other
his
people.
limitations.
Or am I autistic?
Yeah.
Right.
We'll get to that.
I found a little article. I was curious too, because I don't know, it did just get me thinking about his own relationships and stuff like that. So I did some research and I found like an old article just in talking about his divorce, because he mentions that he got divorced in the first season when he's trying to bond with another person,
Right.
Yeah.
He mentions that. So then I was curious about that because anyway, so the article was talking about how he got divorced or whatever. And it was like, it quotes him as saying it's a very jarring experience, one of the heaviest emotional things. But then at the last line of the article says, Nathan added that he often doubts himself and wonders whether he could have done things differently.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
Which is like the whole theme of the rehearsal is like, what if you could rehearse life?
Like, what if he got married 5 times rehearsing it?
Yeah.
And then I figured out what's right and wrong and then really get married.
Like, and also let's say like you are afraid to be particularly introspective, because if you are, it might reveal, let's say, an emotional limitation that you have that's creating some kind of handicap in your life to really flourish and have these fulfilling interpersonal dynamics. And in the New York Magazine article where he was on the cover without his shirt when the first rehearsal came out, and it's like Nathan bears all, he talks a little bit about the divorce too. And he says that like in therapy, it was just so like, it was so painful to try to connect with the actual feelings that it was something that he didn't even want.
Interesting.
To,
well, you know what that makes me think about with this show? season 2 is that when there's that guy who's kind of hapless and not dating, and kind of awkward, one of the pilots.
Oh yeah,
Nathan's observation. Yeah, that guy.
What's his name?
His observation setting that guy's story chunk up was like sometimes it's better to like not directly, like sometimes it's better to like read lines that like you're in a play.
Yeah, you're not playing, be an actor.
Date.
Yeah, it's easier
instead of being me on a date.
Right.
I am
somebody else.
Bob Smith, and here's my dialogue in this movie. And that guy was more comfortable. Who was so awkward before got more comfortable.
Yeah, his name is Colin in the show. In episode 4, he comes up. Really quick to kick things off. Just going into episode 1. I think what's fascinating about this as it starts, is this idea of a lot of the Fielder method acting, from the first season where he's teaching all those people how to really immerse and follow people around to study all their moves. That's carried over here into season 2, and he has all these people follow these pilots around to sort of see what makes them tick. What do they like? What's a day in what's a day in their life like? And of course, he has Moody, his first officer character that we follow as well too for all that insight. And what's interesting is right away he's kind of shocked. Nathan is to learn that these pilots don't interact at all before they work together in a cockpit. Like they're just assigned randomly. I kind of thought too, I heard some other people talking about this. I thought like a pilot and a co-pilot, they always work together, or something. Like I always assumed they knew each other or
like golf buddies.
or something.
Yeah,
I know.
right.
But I just never thought, but I guess it makes sense.
My sense. Oh, just 2 seconds. My sense is that it's such a serious situation. You're going to kill everybody and you're going to die. It's just so serious that it is play with your mind. It's not normal like right now. We're just talking to people, like enjoying each other's company. So there's like a heaviness to it. So I always figured it's kind of a poker face because if somebody reveals something and kind of says something a little cockeyed or like answers weird, it's like it could really neurotically freak out the co-pilot.
Everybody could have a chain
and then
reaction.
and then maybe the he sounds weird on the mic when he addresses the crowd, and then one of the stewardesses comes in and is like, "Whoa, Charlie said that," So it just feels like just stay cool and be almost like a robot because this is so consequential.
Well, think about the zone. Also, getting in the zone. Like literally when you're like, and it's funny because there's a parallel between also actors getting in the zone,
sure,
and directors, like in the same way where like you could be like, oh, this, Daniel Day-Lewis before he goes on, or Christian Bale, like it's like so unapproachable and insane.
I love their method.
Their method, right? So it's like, and then Fielder is also talking about, because acting is also such another weird layer of like our performance, but also like what is the process of acting? How are we acting? And then Nathan asked the pilot, one of the actors playing one of the pilots, like, so when I first, started working with you on set, I asked you a lot of questions, right? And I tried to interact with you about your life. And the actor was like, no, not really. You just kind of gave me direction. And so I thought that was actually really cool too, because like they're right there, he's using once again like that allegory or that parallel to then explore himself and kind of look how do I compare that to like the way he is he's very controlled.
I think that's
as a filmmaker.
Brilliant in what he does with his shows. As we touched on earlier, it's just it adds that extra layer of like poignancy to everything that he is willing to. Subtly, though, sort of do some self-examination, but like through the lens of what he's trying to create as well, too. He's touching on that. And I think that's what just gives it this extra dimension of poignancy.
Because it's everything, even his own learning experience going through this creative process is not refracted, but like...
It's like a deconstruction of his own work, always, I feel like.
Well, but it's cool. The distance. We're talking about the distance, where it's like it's never like to the bone, like affected and then reacted. It's like there's always this like another layer of distance. It's Brechtian,
Yeah.
in a word.
So
Well,
totally.
because his gaze is like, that's that ironic gaze that's a kind of inscrutable that he has, and that he's been also criticized for in the past as like the sort of like cruel, arrogant, ironic
Yeah.
trickster who's sort
Right.
of like the puppeteer who's manipulating people.
And so much so that when it breaks, like in season 1, and he starts getting really emotional with that child, it's fucking haunting. It's like,
It's amazing. Oh my god!
don't do that, Nathan.
I know. And whenever you see that break, you see
Yeah.
behind the mask.
Heavy.
It is really intense because
is.
you get the sense that he's almost trying to figure it out with us, like as the
Yeah.
audience. Like you're figuring it out with him, kind of. Like,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, go ahead, Marcus.
Oh God, I don't know. There's a million years between so much to comment on. But there was I just loved what I was gonna say. I loved the way that he reveals things. He's grown so much as a filmmaker,
Agree.
and
I agree too, yeah.
and the way he introduces narratives and stuff, and the way the jokes land too, and he goes so much further with the joke than people would, which is part of the enjoyment of the show. But that's like, I love the way that pilot, co-pilot or a first officer interaction is revealed, that they don't talk to each other. It's like, it's only revealed after he goes through like the effort of building an entire airport terminal.
Yes.
And like,
Yes,
and
yes.
the sort of
Yes.
like pilot's room and stuff. And then he's observing them and they're not talking at all.
Yes.
And
That's
he's like,
great. I know. Like, why aren't you? This is all you do. You guys don't say anything to each other. That is a revelation that these two guys, just after all that, they get into this pilot's lounge and they sit there and they just, diddle with their iPads, and that's it. They don't communicate or get to know each other at all, which is, I'm sure, which was like, oh my God, this is where maybe one part of the problem is.
I mean, can we also talk about him with like the weird laptop?
I was just going to say,
harness?
that's my Halloween costume.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
it's
man.
incredible.
I was going
and
to
just-
get you guys one for Christmas.
just looming
That's a
around
cool
and
look.
It's and
Now, actually, hold on one second. Is that a real thing
Yes.
in the world?
You sent an
Thanks
Amazon
for,
link.
thanks
him
for looking
do
at the my text, because I did send a link to that.
sent an
exact
Amazon
thing.
link, yeah.
did you?
He did.
I did.
Oh, I didn't see
No,
that.
but I mean, like, has anyone seen this anywhere else?
No.
So it's not like on the set, like Evan. It's not like,
No.
okay, let me
never
just
seen
answer
that.
this email.
But now
So it's
everybody
demented.
on our
It's
set
demented.
is going to be wearing those. Yes.
Oh
Okay,
my
it's
God.
demented. All right,
It's
okay.
demented, and it's almost like he
yeah.
can't detach. I mean, it's
great.
like apologies if I'm like reading too much into this, but
No.
there is something about him constantly being in control, and those kind of like puppet strings on the laptop.
Yes.
And when talking about him evolving as a filmmaker, I think
Yeah.
that awareness of like stylistically how he wants to portray
Yes.
himself in the
Yes.
very beginning. Also, when he's like looming with the fire behind him.
Oh,
and he's
that's
kind
so
of,
good.
Like he's also playing on like what his image has become.
That speaks to
Absolutely.
Marcus and the filmmaking. I mean, that was very sophisticated. The reveal of him in the flames at the very beginning of
Yes.
Yeah.
episode 1. That's filmmaking.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
really moving
It's
forward.
incredible.
Totally.
Absolutely, yeah. He's become like a visual film
Right.
director, and yeah, that him with the awareness of him with that thing being
Yeah.
like that being an iconic
Yes,
thing. And
yes.
There's also a
It's on the
great moment.
poster. Yeah.
And there's also a great thing that's also made the poster where they've got the sort of stage. They have a black box on the stage where like the simulation's going, and it's kind of got a black curtain wrapped around it as if it's like the Mecca thing or whatever. And he's like I'm ready, and then the curtain opens, but it's got like just a single wire that's going to the ceiling, opening up the curtain, and you see it on the poster too. It's this like image of just like a black cube, him emerging from the curtain, and in this completely empty, sparse room.
David Lynch.
just
like
Very.
yeah, it's
And like the wizard and all that.
Totally.
the Red Room. What is it?
Yeah.
great visual awareness, because he came out
Black
of this
Lodge.
world of just this sort of reality TV show,
Yeah.
documentary filmmaking that is anti-style. It
I
almost
know.
has to be.
I know.
Yeah.
And the
exactly.
evolution of that is so interesting when you
Yeah.
look at like his work. And
Right.
don't you guys think that also it has something to do with doing the curse? Like we were talking about this before, but like he did season 1 of the rehearsal and then did the curse, and like he's kind of with the curse, he's entering a different world
Yes.
of narrative. He's working with Benny Safdie.
He's a character.
Right.
He's got lines of dialogue.
Right. And but think
Right.
about the end of the curse and how, the poltergeist thing where he's on the ceiling and he's going off, like where we're really going into this like surrealistic
Yeah.
space of narrative storytelling.
I mean,
So I'm
almost-
sure he's taken a lot from those experiences.
Oh yeah. I think he listed in his like inspirations. He only listed a couple people like Stephen Colbert, which whatever.
Amazing.
And then
Yeah.
and then there's also Chris Morris.
Oh, yeah.
And Jam, which is also something that's like someone putting a stylistic spin on comedy that hasn't been done. Because almost all comedy is just shot. Flat basic way.
Yeah, that stuff is very influential. Absolutely.
So with episode 1, he does meet the pilot. Do you want to maybe start addressing?
Yeah, Moody. Yeah, he meets. Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Moby.
Moody. And it's just, I think he's trying to get to know what pilots' lives are like outside of the cockpit, so to speak, and what challenges they may face. And for him, he zeroes in right immediately that this guy has a insecurity. He has a worry, an anxiety about his girlfriend, that they're in some sort of long distance relationship, and she's working at Starbucks and ostensibly gets hit on a lot, and he isn't comfortable confronting her. So Nathan uses that as a way to, okay, let's dress her as a pilot, and you're a pilot, and you're going to play two pilots, and you're going to talk about that in the cockpit. And that's a very kind of interesting behavioral science sort of.
What if couples did fly planes?
I know.
Wow.
Just think about that for a second.
That's a different show.
Terrifying.
Yeah, terrifying. Well, it's like couples can't put like fucking IKEA furniture together, nonetheless. So.
Oh,
There you go.
So I'll be here all night. So anyway, but
This is getting meta, kind of like the show, right?
Yes, exactly. It is. Yes.
no, I'm sorry though. That's insane. That's what he's trying to do is like imagine a couple flying a plane. Like, no, I already told you to take a left. Like that sounds like a nightmare, and that shows you how heavy relationships are.
Well, and also how much
imagine them in a
we're
cockpit.
afraid. Like, it's strange to see how much like we're hiding, even with people who are supposed to be so intimate
Right.
to us and that we're living with. Like,
Right.
I think so often people are living in these relationships where they're terrified of
Yes.
either being their true selves, expressing themselves.
Right.
And then he's
Interesting.
kind of exploring that.
You're right.
Right.
It makes you wonder, like, I mean, because it is basically, it's the premise of the show, basically, right? Is that they are this relationship, like Tom pointed out, and then you've got some people that are having some problems in their relationship, and he puts them. It's like how much of it was written ahead of time and then cast.
Right.
I know.
My production mind is just going.
Yeah.
The whole time I'm watching both these seasons, I'm like, did that really happen the way that he's saying it happened? Do you live with these people for
here's what I was thinking,
months or whatever? It's always
to
it's very
piggyback on
confusing.
that. Is what do you think, like the ratio of what was used? Like what I'm saying is, like, I can tell, I have a feeling that for like that guy Colin we were talking about earlier who can't go on a date, like did he have to go through like 50 guys and then like 25 guys who were similar but it didn't quite pan out? You guys know what I mean? Like, because that's the thing when you deal with quote unquote reality is what's the ratio of like just like like they always say like footage, like how many like dead end trails, I wonder, does it take to go down and then go, Colin followed through nicely in the context of the show, and it kind of was a worthy episode. Do you know what I'm saying? That's probably like half of the almost impossible work alone.
Well, what's really interesting about that is, and the first season's like this too, where it's like, to me, it's like he's sort of letting the show take on a life of its own in a way where, okay, wherever this goes, we're going to follow that. And we're going to morph sort of around
especially in one.
Because it's exploring a lot of different stuff. And then when the family element comes in, it's very different than how it started. And with this, it kind of feels like every episode is kind of self-contained almost in a way,
right?
Where each episode is exploring one aspect of this whole exploration that he's doing. It's not really, nothing's ever really a continuation. Like he doesn't get to go in front of Congress, he doesn't.
Well, we don't follow through with Moody.
We don't follow through with Colin.
Realized.
Right, exactly.
Right.
None of them are really.
And at first I was like, I thought Moody was like, we're going to walk through this with him as a B list, not B list, but like the B story.
B story, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like gone.
Yeah.
Hit it and quit it.
Yeah, so I think that's interesting. But what just real quick, it does lead me to believe, I think in terms of just the way he makes stuff, I would bet that, the casting is real. I feel like he's going out, that's That's a severe talent of his, right? All the way back from Nathan For You is picking that Craigslist casting. He's got that on lock. You know, he knows exactly how to do that. But I do feel like because he's such a more like a refined storyteller now, I think he's telling the story he wants to tell. Not like I would never look at.
I know what you're saying.
Like that, like the rehearsal should not be looked at as journalism or anything. But it is entertainment, but I think for a lot of the part he is trying to get what he wants to get out of this. Right? He's going into this series with a very specific message, you know, and wanting to call attention to like a real issue, you know.
Right. This one it does, and the first season seems like he's finding an application for that, you know, and it kind of went in reverse. And it makes mistakes in how it doesn't work, you know, and it spirals out of control and causes problems and stuff in a way. This one's like finding a practical application for the world, for the fielder.
Yeah, totally. Exactly. And that's what makes one so very different and also very interesting and kind of rewarding, because if you look at it like from an aerial, it like season one is like very misshapen, very odd. It's like things like start and abruptly end and then they deform and go over here and like they dovetail, disappear, come back. But this one feels much more smooth.
Yeah, like it's got a overarching
episode based and an overarching
theme.
Yes,
exactly. It's got an overarching theme and an issue to explore. And that was what took me with this the first time I've seen it twice now, but the first time I saw the first episode, I was like, okay, they've sort of maybe reined him in a little bit, like in terms of or
himself.
Or that. Let's just
HBO wrote me a blank check as long as I don't go over budget.
Right. Let's just, explore this one topic over these several episodes. And what's interesting too is he makes a lot of references throughout this season in his voiceover when he constantly makes references to, which I believe is real, this idea of like HBO greenlighting the series, but it's got to be funny, because it's a very serious topic. And he's, probably having to assure them, don't worry, it's still going to be a comedy series of some kind. And but I think
even if it's about avoiding like mass casualties,
I know.
But this is like another theme too, because of course, there's the whole thing with the clown, that little scene
in the first episode.
It's like right. So he's addressing that right away. Like, okay, what is sincerity? Yes. Am I capable of being sincere? What are the different roles that I am performing as like the persona of Nathan Fielder? Can I hold all these things at once? Like, can all of us like hold all of these different parts at once?
Right.
And I think in a way he really is exploring that, because he is, yes, I am fascinated with this topic, and it's a very sad, like a very tragic and sad topic.
It's as sobering as it gets in a way.
It is.
Yeah.
He does. It is he does the clown being taken seriously as the clown. He says as much, like in like one of the last episodes when he's standing in front of the George Bush statue, the airport, and he's like,
yeah, it's amazing.
Could this be my path to be taken seriously in Washington? To becoming a man who's an inspiration to humanity and not just a punchline, you know? And he's standing in front of the George Bush statue.
It's amazing.
So good.
And so he's like, and even like when he shows like the Seth Rogen with Alzheimer's and Jon Stewart, like he's also poking fun of that. So it's like, it's once again, these amazing meta levels of like, of course, Nathan is also incredibly intelligent, and his parents were social workers and sociologists, and he's obviously very interested in human behavior and dissecting psychology. And he also happens to be extremely witty and funny. So it's like, as you're evolving as a person, you're like, I am all of these things.
That's funny. He pointed that out because he's way too self-aware and culturally aware.
Yeah.
That this is ultimately pretty cringe. Like when the clown puts his glasses on and makes the statement, it's like,
he knows.
Shut up. You're fucking, you should be ripping bong hits. Just
yeah.
calm down.
All right. Well,
it's great. It's great.
Just to keep the train moving here, just to talk about episode 2, which is the episode devoted to the sort of, the fake reality singing contest show.
Fantastic.
Wings of Voice. Amazing. Great stuff.
Great title.
Wings of Voice.
It sounds like it's like AI, like English as a second language.
Totally.
Voice.
Wings of Voice. And I do love in any of Nathan's work where he sort of he includes a little bit of his biography, his backstory, where he shows us here that he was one of the junior producers on a Canadian Idol, and you see the photos of him, and it's incredible.
And he looks like a little son of a bitch, you know, like
does.
he kind of has that snarky, like it's kind of an insight into like that.
Steve Albini, like jumping.
Yes,
You know?
totally. But it's an amazing premise. This idea of having, taking real first officer pilots and making them the junior producers of a singing reality show, and forcing them to have to give people whose dreams it is to be a famous singer, to tell them they're not good enough and to give them that bad news is such a great experiment idea. And then finding out who's the best at it. And of course, Mara D is the female co-pilot there who scores a 90 on his test.
What's the word she says all the time?
Fantastic.
Right, that's what we were saying before.
Fantastic.
That's fantastic. And
Picturing Nathan when he's smiling, like pretending to be authentic. It's amazing.
Fantastic.
I know.
Fantastic.
And there's like
Beautiful.
like, what's your name? Daniel. It's like, that's beautiful.
yeah, that's beautiful.
That's a fantastic name.
And it's amazing. And then of course he sees some are better than not, and he's not very good at it in the beginning. And then he introduces the concept of the people who've been rejected to then rate their judge and how they think they did, which I think is amazing. But the best part is when Nathan talks to that guy that
In the parking lot
that he calls back and he's like, "Wait, come back here. Why did you give me such a low score?" And then he starts talking to him about like, how he doesn't have like, why the woman is better. Yeah. Why? Cause he showed him footage of Mara D and he's like, well, she's got, I think it's her aura, and he says something to Nathan where he says, I don't think you can control what your natural energy is, which is amazing. Right. And I think that says a lot.
That's the anti-theory of the show. I mean, because the show is like, almost like B.F. Skinner or something like that. You could condition yourself through experiments to like react to something, or to train. He says something like about, I believe all human behavior can be learned or if not learned, emulated, and this guy is telling him that you can't change your aura.
Right.
I know. Well, I think that guy is right. And aura maybe is a goofy kind of undefinable word, but and
your personality.
Well, that's the thing. It's like we have to understand we're so literal, as a species, more and more, especially in the West. It's words, and then more words, right? Or what you think you're trafficking in. 99%, and then maybe look at your eyes for a second, but it's like words might be like bullshit and nothing, and everything is the aura, which is like the subtlest eye contact, the sounds, not the words, but the sounds of your voice, the pace, the way you tilt your head, the way you're born and look, which is genetics, and so all of this stuff is your aura. And when you don't understand that, you'll never be able to crack that code because it's this incredibly mystical kind of mysterious, I'll say, like concoction that maybe includes saying the right thing, but it's that woman who works. She looks kind of like a mom. That's not a diss; it's like a compliment. Like she feels warm. She feels like He feels like she could just start hugging you and you'd feel better. But then like a guy like Nathan feels
cold.
like, I don't want him to hug me. And like, what's on his mind? What's he really thinking about? Yeah, exactly. He doesn't read right to all the tiny codes that are not word based.
What are his nightmares? Yeah. And so that I think is really fast. Oh, Rémy, go ahead.
Can I just say that I wrote down one of the Nathan voiceover quotes. He said, I've always felt that sincerity was overrated. It always ends up punishing those who can't perform it. And I thought that was so, and I want to make like a poetry book out of all of his voiceovers.
Yeah,
and
I
just
know.
like read the whole thing.
That's great. That's cool.
Because it's really cool by
audiobook.
Audiobook. But I thought that was so interesting about this idea of like, I was talking to Evan about this, how his perspective, because of the way he interacts with the world and his lack of maybe accessing connection and emotion easily, is that other people are just performing
Yes.
authenticity and
Yes.
performing sincerity.
Yes. He thinks
He's
And that it-
projecting that.
Right. And that
Yes.
it's not fair for those who aren't as good as actors, right?
Right.
Whereas like he's maybe, or the persona of Nathan is missing the point.
Right, exactly.
Or he's commenting on this.
But the thing is, that nice woman everyone likes, fantastic lady, she's not acting at all.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. It's almost like he doesn't.
And there's another
yeah.
thing, and this is weird. And I'm almost an only child because I only have one sister, and she's like way older than me. But like, I think a lot of people are affected by not even the parent stuff is always huge, but siblings. And you can kind of tell a person who's like had a lot of siblings, like siblings, like shut up and get over here, and like what? And they're just
That's
so
hilarious.
adept at all the codes of
Sure.
existence,
Right.
Because they have all
with
that.
the human interaction. Yeah, right. But then there's only children who are like weird, or like maybe like like one other brother, or distance from the siblings.
Sure,
Right.
sure.
Feel
That's
that?
hilarious.
You guys know what I mean?
Totally.
The social codes, it is about that. And what he's doing with this like sociology is kind
That's
of
very
like
only child.
deconstructing what those
Totally.
norms and codes are. And
is,
he
like,
wants
not
to
the way to
interrupt
go.
them. Right. And he thinks if he interrupts them, he can
Unnatural.
get to like who people
Right.
really
Well,
are.
And that's the
Right.
insanity. It's
It's
sort of
like-
like I can crack the code of being a warm, natural human being,
It's
which is just counterintuitive. It doesn't
Yeah.
work that way.
Well, he's also trying to crack the code of being an actor too, in a way. You
Yeah.
know, like he talks about how he doesn't understand actors, and he's having them act, or he's studying how they interact with the world, so that he can,
Yeah.
copy what they are doing. He talks about how in The Curse, like he didn't feel any emotion for Emma
Yeah.
Stone, and that he had to just copy emotions
Imitate,
of what he
right.
saw.
That's
from
right.
TV.
Well, that's so
Reacts to
interesting
her.
too, because that's the autism thing again, or like the neurodivergence is that so often the masking is that you're, or if you like have sociopathic tendencies, like you really have to learn to be like, okay, what is that expression someone's making when they're mad or they're empathetic, and you just study the expressions, but you're not really understanding
You
what
have
the
to do
no
it
natural.
like you have to like go through it in steps instead of just naturally experiencing and then giving back.
Yeah.
Just the purity of like the codes of
Because not everyone
socializing.
has the same like ability, and it's not. That's why they call it like neurodivergence, or because it really is like genuinely a spectrum. Like some people don't have can't access that in the same way.
All right, I gotta throw a flag in here just because this clock's freaking me out. Okay, so but yeah, to what you were saying, Tom, about just the kind of your product of your environment sort of thing, and how that makes who you are is definitely a theme of the next episode, which let's put a pin in that for a second. 'Cause there's two more just quick little details on two that I want to get into. You get that awful character, the creepy Jeff pilot who's been kicked off of 5 different dating apps.
God.
And that's an interesting
Tinder, Bumble,
God.
even
fantastic.
Instagram,
He
bro.
said he tried to sign on with his mom's phone
Yeah.
number.
his mom's-
Dude,
Dude, that's insane. What a find
doing
that
like
guy
George
is.
Floyd jokes. And
Yeah.
stuff.
Oh my.
Oh my god. So shout out to that guy. What a character. What a find.
big homie. He's gonna be on next week.
Yeah, he will. But another just interesting inclusion in episode 2, which is a very personal thing, for Nathan. But he's also, I feel like, trying to put himself in a situation to try and be honest and try to figure out the best way to navigate the situation, which is the inclusion of the Summit Ice scandal from Nathan For You. Of course, the famous Summit Ice episode is now on Paramount Plus, and I guess Paramount Plus Germany basically canceled the episode, took it off the platform, and now Nathan's pissed off about it. He's trying to figure out the best way to navigate that situation. But of course, he designs the Paramount Plus Germany offices to look like Nazi Germany and fits the guy who runs the company into a Nazi officer outfit and with a German accent of Mr. Fielder, when he comes out. And he says that amazing line where he's like, hospitality is what separates us from the animals.
It's like a total Indiana Jones.
It's
Yeah.
like kind of a bad movie, yeah. And then
I
there's
love
like
when
the
the guy-
blue armbands that say Paramount, instead of have a
I know.
swastika.
Incredible.
Dude,
The guy calls him out for it. It's like, you got this set looking like a war room. You've got me dressed like a Nazi. You've just got a grudge to bear, whatever. And
Yeah.
He
so
says you're
Nathan's
not being sincere. He says
They're
you're not
not being
right.
sincere.
Yeah.
Nathan's contemplating that as he stares out the window at these Nazis
Paramount
marching.
Nazis.
They
Paramount.
tired.
Oh my God. It's so
Paramount
good.
Nazis.
Incredible. That was amazing.
Oh, that's crazy. Evan, I just called you Austin. That's
Whoa. Okay. Hurry. Say what you have to say. The clock's ticking.
Can't remember your name. No,
Mr.
I
Powers?
just want.
Mr. Powers.
Like,
Okay, keep going.
Okay, I wanted to talk about Captain Jeff really quickly though.
Okay,
because,
sure, you love him.
just the interaction between Captain Jeff and Mara D in the I just really quickly that interaction and just that's just so fascinating because Nathan is watching her trying to appease Captain Jeff while he's making her really uncomfortable.
Super uncomfortable.
And just from a female perspective, which I don't know if Nathan fully can understand, is that how much women do have to do that constantly in their lives and throughout their entire lives. We are, or women are just conditioned to have to appease, to have to be likable. If someone's saying something crazy to you, you have to just nod your head. And so women are very convincing at this because it's a survival mechanism.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this performance of performing that you are okay in those situations is really kind of a social survival. And so, but he's kind of fascinated watching it, being why can't I detect, that she's uncomfortable? It's because that's another social,
because it's second nature to her because she's been doing it for 40 years.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, no shit.
So I just wanted to.
So absolutely.
Yeah, good point.
Absolutely,
Good point.
absolutely. Yeah. All right, so episode 3 is the banger. Of course, this is the Sully episode. Not going to waste too much time with the clock talking about how it starts, which of course is the dog cloning test. Interesting. Theory there, in terms of nature versus nurture, I guess you could say in a way. But really, the most amazing part of the episode, of course, is when Nathan reenacts the life of Sully based on his autobiography. And it's just incredible because obviously he reads, obviously Sully was able to land this plane during a major crisis, because, birds flew into the engines and he was able to land it on the Hudson. And that's that famous story. But he says Sully says in his book that my entire life led me to safely land in that river that day, not just any one decision I make. So Nathan, being fascinated by that, decides to recreate Sully's entire childhood.
Right. And it's based on the dog thing in a way because he's he feels like he personality transferred from those dogs, the clone dogs, and he thinks if that's possible, maybe I can personality transfer Sully's life. And so,
and this is
and nature
absurd.
versus nurture, and what made him
right.
But back to visually interesting, Nathan.
Oh my God,
segment is suitable for framing.
It is. It is the whole. It's probably his most cinematic and amazing set piece here. Because it's incredible when you're seeing these visuals of the oversized parents, when they're wearing stilts and they're super long arms and legs. It's so weird looking, Peter Gabriel, fucking Arabal fucking shit.
You got the Bun Raku parents, and then you've got the stilt parents, and I love how they're
and
different
the sisters,
ones.
The creepy sisters mask.
Sister's got a creepy doll face. I couldn't look at that very long.
Or I guess it's more kind of Dusan Makiev and
I know what you mean.
kind of thing.
Right.
But it's amazing.
Peter the Absurd.
It is. It's incredible looking. It's truly demented as well when we're seeing Nathan breastfeeding.
Choking on it.
Choking on the breast.
Oh my God, I know.
Fuck.
Yeah.
In that real
It's
moment.
an endless stream of milk. And he's, let's not forget, just, in case you haven't seen it, he's in a diaper.
Yeah.
This adult 40-year-old man, shaved head, and he's going to this huge fake boob.
I know.
Milk gushing out.
An indelible image if there ever was
That does
one.
pass the test of someone just walking in.
Yeah.
And you're watching and they're like, what the fuck are you watching?
Being lifted into the air too.
Yeah.
Oh, and the little, but it's so crazy because it's
the milk.
Watching that too. It's he's become a modern artist. I was what this is a Paul McCarthy weird sculpture, right?
Yes.
Kind of grotesque sculptures that you would see if you went to Mocha, mixed with a kind of a Charlie Kaufman.
But what's cooler in a way
is
that stuff's always floating in its own non-context kind of respect. But this actually is part of the reality of the show.
Yeah.
There's a premise and there's a quote unquote point to it. That's what's so beautiful about it.
It's amazing, and of course for comedic effect, he's ramping up so much here where he gives his performance of Sully a very Forrest Gumpian accent. You know, here's your seat belt, you know, when he's talking to his wife. And that whole fucking set piece of him having to, as Sully.
He's dressed like Tom Hanks.
Yeah, he is, totally. I can't wait for Sully to see this. I can't wait for Sully to see the scene
I can't wait.
where he had to balance his sexual desires while manning the plane and then masturbating.
That was one of those moments where I was watching and I was like, oh, it's going there.
Yes.
Nathan's not going to say these words like, I'm going to go masturbate right now, so maybe you should leave and I'll masturbate next to this robot. Like, and I'm like, this is happening. And he jerked off with the film crew with the robot next to him. Like, that happened.
Yeah, and then yeah, it's insane. And then of course the big you know, because I guess with Sully's book he doesn't really get into. There's some things he's cagey about still. You know, maybe there's legal reasons.
First wife talk.
Yeah, well, no. In terms of what even happened on the day with the Miracle on the Hudson, he's very cagey around that. And of course, the big discovery Nathan makes is this is 2002, or it's 2002 when he decides that Sully's going to start listening to music. He doesn't bring up music any time before that in the book, and he talks about Sheryl Crow, and he talks about, of course, Evanescence. And their song,
as music people, this is all our favorite part.
Oh, this is amazing! Right? Yeah, incredible. He talks about "Bring Me to Life" by Evanescence, which is incredible. I remember the day that song came out, and how it was a song that was about a cry for help, and the song itself is about not hiding your true self.
Oh wow,
which is amazing.
And it is a funny song now too.
Yes.
I mean, like there's the humor of Sheryl Crow and Evanescence is there.
Oh, of course, yeah.
But how long is that Evanescence song?
Well, he figures out the chorus of that song is 23 seconds, which accounts for the same 23 seconds of silence that's found on the black box recording when they did the landing. So that making that revelation of the
inference being, hold on, headphones, click,
Evanescence.
Let me do the chorus. Almost done. Hold on. And let's land the plane.
He got a sort of power song. Right.
That was his. He got in the zone. Like that was what he was doing. Yeah.
Is unfucking believable. That's the biggest takeaway for me in this whole thing is that.
Well, we need Sully to comment. We need him to comment publicly on the iPod and Evanescence immediately.
Yeah,
don't hold your breath.
I don't think pilots are supposed to be listening to music while they're flying a plane. Maybe that's why. I don't know.
Right.
But anyway, that's episode 3. It's absolutely just fucking incredible. What a monster episode. Forget it. It's incredible. Episode 4 sees, we talked about earlier, Colin, who is the pilot trying to meet a woman. Feels very much like the that life swapping episode of Nathan Fielder of Nathan For You. You know, the guy who does the tightrope walk thing.
Hero for a Day?
Hero for a Day, whatever it's called. Yeah, like he feels very much like that guy.
This whole season is kind of like a giant version of that too, because Nathan teaches himself to tight walk.
Wow.
You know,
right. That's kind of a seed of him doing those kind of extreme.
But my takeaway, and back to that theater of the absurd thing we were talking about earlier, and I'm starting to see that more and more. Like, and it's a great compliment. Is the methodology where he says, I noticed that when animals are in packs, they feel more like they have a better chance of going for it and attacking because they're backed up. So then, of course, you have this guy on a date, and every word he says is followed up by 25 people going like, "Oh, I like my coffee black." Yeah, and it's like, and that just is it's an inherently absurd concept, and it's executed beautifully and weird. And
it's very visually cool.
It looks like mid-century art.
It does,
often. It's again a compliment on my part.
When you were saying like Brechtian or someone said,
what I mean.
It really does have a Brechtian. That is the whole breaking the fourth wall. with these sort of like absurdist,
that's for like experimental theater or like improv.
Well, what's interesting,
amazing.
What's really interesting about that is, in the very first episode when you meet that John Golia guy who's kind of like, giving Nathan some credibility because he's like a legit, guy with a background and all this. He mentions that he'd flagged to people that they need to be doing it in the FFA training or whatever. They need to be doing more role playing, and of course, what field has the best role playing, of course, is theater exercises, and social experiments, right? So it's perfect for discovering, how you could apply that to, pilot training, of course.
And then therapy,
And
like
therapy.
just to link it back, because I
Yes.
think also a lot of this
Yes.
has to do probably
Absolutely.
with like Nathan's own therapy.
Sure.
And I'm like, obviously don't know the guy, but like it is very the behavior. One of the things that I was studying at school, going back to my degree, was about behavioral interventions that include role play and a lot of like cognitive behavioral therapy, dialectical behavioral therapy. They call it behavioral rehearsal therapy. And so a lot of the times in class, this is what we were doing. I kept on thinking about
Nathan.
the rehearsal,
Yeah.
and I wanted to be like, guys, you got it. But like, no one was really on that tip with me, and wasn't really getting it. But I have this whole workbook too, where part of it is you're rehearsing. You talk about your anxieties, you try to discern whether or not they're cognitive distortions, and then you rehearse what might happen in these situations before they actually happen. And that's what you do with your therapist. So
Yeah.
it's also taken a lot. I wouldn't be surprised if like
Okay.
his parents also maybe influenced him.
Oh,
Right. His parents being psychotherapists.
Yeah, they were social workers, and then there's a guy named Harold Garfinkel who was an ethno-methodologist who was a sociologist.
He's great.
And
His first,
Love his work.
album.
Yeah.
rips.
so like his
Second album too.
Yeah, pretty good. Yeah, pretty
I'm
good.
sorry. Go ahead.
Harry Garfunkel?
No, it's fine.
All right.
His parents basically, like he talks about in the New York Magazine article that his parents were like, Harold Garfunkel, like that. But that's what you're doing. This is what your work is about.
You're Garfunkeling.
You're
Yeah.
Garfunkeling.
Okay, real quick, just to keep it moving here. So Colin, basically, they're trying to set him up on a date with one of the female actors. Her name is Emma. She's super sweet, and they're kind of rehearsing for his date. But funny deep cut moment here is the other potential suitors for Colin. With this older woman, and this is kind of the drink your grandson's pee moment of rehearsal season 2, which is when the older woman says, "You don't."
That's
You don't
from
remember
Nathan
that?
for you.
You don't remember that?
Oh yeah, I do remember now. Go ahead.
That's
Yes,
like
I
the
totally remember
character breaking moment.
Yes, it
is,
is.
is when the older woman says that she found Einstein was sexy and she had a wet dream about
I
Einstein.
love her.
Yeah, I know. It was incredible.
Like, no, I wasn't asleep when I had these. Women get wet too.
Women get wet too.
No, and it's like, and Nathan's just like he's a natural, showbiz guy in a way, and he's like, I got a live one here.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
like go on, lady.
Yeah, we got all
He's
day.
like the ultimate straight man. You can
Sexy
just, like,
Einstein, let's go.
Yes. He loves it. He loves it. So
a wet dream about Einstein.
yeah,
Love her.
fucking
Awesome.
A, man. So, but here is where, in terms of finding out the rehearsing of Colin and Emma's date is, and just which is a great concept of when people can, instead of them being themselves, they're assigned a character and they're playing a character, right? And that makes it easier for Colin to make his first moves with, Emma kissing her and all that other stuff, and being a little more, taking more initiative, of course.
What's that word? Like dislocation,
Dissociation.
disassociation.
Dissociative.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a hint of disassociation.
There you go. But this is where Nathan comes up with the idea of, I think it's Captain All Ears and First Officer Blunt. Yes, the idea of, one person's always going to be saying what's on their mind, and the other person's always going to be receptive to it. And if you play those characters, it's going to help. And that's the big kind of eureka breakthrough moment for him, I feel like, in this season, and coming up with that. And then that sort of gets us to episode 5, which is the shortest, I think, episode in the season. And it's largely focused around him trying to get some sort of Senate hearing or, some real political backing for this concept, right? And trying to be taken seriously. And
Mr. Fielder goes to Washington.
Yeah. Exactly.
And of course, this is when he partners with the autism place, and he's then, and this is a great sort of self-reflexive Nathan trying to, and he's playing it very well. I'm sure he's playing it up, of course, but he's playing up this idea of, I'm not like being in denial that he could potentially be on the spectrum, which is very funny, but also could be a real thing,
He's quite aware of how he might be on the spectrum, and that how it's very, very publicly, it's a conversation that the nation's having.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
More and more.
But he is also, Rémy, making the link between, masking, as you said, in neurodivergence, with the idea of the dynamic between pilots and how once you're able to recognize that, you might be able to recognize how to better that, right? Or is that the right way of saying that? Or I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting because he's really, I think, making like a self-reflective link, but then trying to also like make it applicable to that experience. I mean, they're definitely different. Like, I think one is feeling anxiety because of like social hierarchical dynamics and power dynamics, which is like the pilot and co-pilot, and then like masking is like feeling the inability, I think, to access certain codes or emotions, and then trying to replicate behaviors. But he's kind of saying like, if we use the same technique of trying to ape behaviors, then we can empower ourselves.
Basically, like all the pilots should be autistic.
Like they basically should be using the same techniques. That's
what I'm saying. Yeah, like that's the inference I'm getting.
And if people with autism are like having to do that their whole lives, and it's pretty effective,
then
it's
maybe
exhausting. But
and I'm saying this, with sincerity. It's like he's thinking maybe that they should take some crib notes from how autistic people get through a day.
Right.
Yes.
And then it's the same way. Yeah. Like actors are like another version, like of that, like, like once you embody a character, it gives you the freedom to be a different person that maybe can empower you or, give you this.
And when we saw that with Colin, Colin even, I believe, said, I got through that better than any other date I could have even imagined, right? Some of the things more successfully. He kissed, he and the girl kissed and all that shit, right? So,
and like so many people are like, they're living with this crippling anxiety. Like so many people we can't even imagine who are.
I don't want to be Tom anymore. What if I was
also that there any sort of mental health is like.
I never thought of that.
Any sort of mental health is like suppressed in that industry as well, which is like a big theme.
Well,
right?
yes,
like,
exactly.
Go to a therapist and
another level. Yeah.
Well, because there's this
not going to the therapist.
I love that.
Right, because there's that annoying thing where it's like you could get fucking fired for even considering that you might have an issue that you want to deal with.
Yeah.
It's just all closed off because like it involves like your employment. Like,
That's also another whole, like big time revelation he makes. This idea that's why these pilots don't seek any, mental health is because that can be on your record and you might get your license revoked.
Cuts into your bottom line.
But Marcus, that shot of Sully outside of the therapist office when he's like, no thanks, I don't need anything. That. Very much two Corys shot.
Oh my god!
Didn't that look like a two Corys?
Go Nathan.
Moment.
Yeah. Well, it was like the same year, right? 2002 or
something. There you go.
Sully's year. Yeah.
Right.
No, but you're saying like this the psychiatrist.
It's like the same establishing shot as in the Corey.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Last episode, we got 5 minutes for it here. I think that's a good amount of time. Obviously, this is again showing, and I can respect the hell out of this. The his just being a better, as we've been saying, he's such a better storyteller. Not that he wasn't bad, but he's just come in this whole new stratosphere of storytelling. New levels. Thank you.
Yeah.
He's with the idea of holding back the reveal that he's been training this whole time. Because that's the thing. It obviously takes 2 years to get, to be able to fly a 737. So he had originally he was starting that process of learning to fly from the jump, I guess, with the series, because he wanted that credibility to be able to tell the pilots, I know what you're talking about, because I'm also a pilot too,
And he did do that.
Yeah.
But the editors chose to excise any reference to when he did try to gain credibility when he discussed it with the pilots.
To make it a reveal.
I do some flying myself. So then, because you get that boom last episode.
Yeah.
Shock, and I was shocked. He's like manning a single engine planes.
Yeah,
it's crazy. And those big ass planes. Yeah, it's crazy. And just, like it's funny because my brother is like, he's a handful of hours away from getting his, pilot's license, which is crazy. And, he's got the whole flight simulator set up in his house and everything. And I've tried it and it's fucking hard, man.
But how creepy is it when he's when they witness a crash, him and the guy training him.
Yeah.
There's a crash below them at the airport. I'm like,
Yeah.
Jesus
Like,
Christ.
But
creepy.
the
It makes me
stakes-
makes me feel sad for or scared for Nathan in a way, because he's like, when he was doing the tightrope thing, it's an extension of that. Like we said earlier, like he taught himself to be a tightrope walker. Now he's, how can I get bigger? Like, how am I going to fulfill myself in life? Now I have to learn to be a pilot.
The existential
like having
thing.
a couple, a show on Paramount, a show on HBO would be enough for like a lot of people. But
That's
also
a really
gotta
good point.
Make a what's he gonna do next? He's gonna have to be like a
did you notice there's a tone,
political leader?
One of the few, the president. One of the last notes of the show, unless I'm wrong, is kind of like I'm paraphrasing. It's like, who's autistic now, bitch?
Yeah,
I just
I know.
landed the plane.
Yeah.
Am I getting that a little off? Like he makes this statement about like I didn't get the results back on if I'm autistic, but somebody just landed a plane.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
am I wrong? Well, doesn't he kind of have that note hit in the very moment into the show?
I feel like it's a lot of levels there.
It's a lot of
he's
levels.
also saying like, once again, it's like the kind of the wizard behind, the curtain. I think there's also, because the tease of us wanting to know, like, is he autistic? Who is Nathan?
Yeah.
What's the real
Yeah.
Nathan?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like he's kind of playing on that by being like,
I mean, so
I'm
many
not
more
revealing
tests.
that.
would
Labels don't matter, kind of thing.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I'm going to remain that.
I just want to see the results.
I think I think so many more tests.
At least the notes.
I think
the test.
I think so many more tests would probably have to be done to determine exactly that,
Yeah.
based on
Get to the bottom of Nathan.
this kooks like brain scans that he's doing. But the idea of like him saying like, well, if you don't know, it's kind of like that advice that the pilots say in that episode where it's like, it's better just not knowing, don't.
If you want to keep on doing this, you cannot reveal that.
Yeah. And
So it's
him
like
not
he's also
knowing-
showing the reality of like, if you were a pilot, you have to suppress all that shit.
Yeah. So delete. Yeah. Right.
Delete.
Exactly.
And then also a wink at the audience. Like
It's all very poker face.
It is. It's all layers, I feel like, of that.
Yeah.
But it's just like go deadpan and don't give him nothing.
Yeah. And it's a great touch for an ending too, I feel like, and
It's perfect.
yeah.
It's such a weird, like it's like if you have some sort of autism, it's supposed to be like you're limited. It's in the show. It's even presented like as if you have a limited way of understanding people's interactions and emotions. But then when you're making the architect of a show like this, it shows that he understands people, interactions, and emotions better than so many, than the average person in a way.
Right.
Observing it and watching it
He's
happen.
read about it for
Right.
years instead of lived experience.
There's just a contrast there.
Right.
Graphs and charts about eyeballs and subtle like movements of the hand.
What's the last line though that he says about being an expert in something? I think this goes back to, Marcus, what you were saying about him striving to achieve in this really extreme way. Like he says, like when you're in the plane, and if you land that plane, it doesn't matter what's happening inside as long as you land that plane.
Right.
So it's like, if you're an expert and I can prove that I'm an expert in this,
Right.
no one can tell me there's something wrong with me.
Right.
So it's like he's kind of expressing.
I inferred that was an indirect reference to like, so I'm not even going to look at my autism, like test results.
Well, it's also about insecurity. Like he's also admitting this deep, deep sense of insecurity of like, I need to overcompensate this extremely because I need to prove myself that I'm okay.
Sure. That's
I
it.
got you.
Yeah, sorry.
Which is troubling in a way.
Right, it's like scary, that last notice.
Hey.
It's like,
Oh.
sorry.
Hey.
No cheating.
Hey. Wait. Where's my? Oh wait. There we go. All right. All right, everybody. That
So
was
good.
That
So
was
good.
one fucking season on.
Can't believe we did it.
The Rehearsal season 2. Yeah, I mean, obviously, lots left on the table. It's a very rich and just fascinating show. I mean, he's really one of our contemporary greats. In terms of someone.
Thank God he's around.
Thank God. I know the world
Because otherwise it's
Yeah.
like you guys want me to go see all these fucking movies, right? Like I
Yes,
got
I
this
do.
close to seeing The Brutalist in theaters.
Oh,
Get the fuck out of here. Like because
Titles
like
are great.
I
though.
torture you guys.
full pass.
Fucking bullshit.
Thank you.
I like to, the
Don't like
curse.
David Lynch.
There's like a little tease for the curse, because the way that show ends, that there could never be a season 2, or unlikely. But then in this show, he mentioned that it just hadn't been renewed
It hadn't
yet.
been renewed. Yeah.
Well, he could, anything goes. It could have been a prequel.
yeah, anything goes. A different couple. Who knows?
Ooh,
But yeah, so he's just making the most interesting stuff nowadays. That's probably
and he's
why
setting the bar.
Yeah.
He's shaming
Very
everyone
high.
else.
Yeah.
He's shaming everyone else who's not at getting to a higher level.
What's that guy? I hate Mark.
Nate Bargatze?
No, from that the podcast with Sam Morrell. What's his name? Mark.
Dude.
What's his
The one
name?
we were just.
Sam Morrell's a nightmare.
No, he's a nightmare.
Mark Norman.
Mark Norman.
Yeah,
Those guys, they did a thing
They
on it.
did.
Is that what you're talking about?
We were just
I
watching. that.
just watched it. And he's like,
Dude.
God, Nathan's making me feel like a hack.
Like
you
a
know?
fraud.
Like
It's
a
like you
fraud.
are a fraud.
Oh, see?
Interesting.
You don't
thought.
say.
We all need to fucking quit.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
Yeah. Oh my God. So
Game over.
Game over. So anyway, great stuff. Awesome. Anything Nathan does, we're going to cover it here on the show. That's the way it goes. And
I'd like to circle back to season 1 of the
We will.
rehearsal, frankly.
we definitely will.
Like this fall or something. That feels good, the fall.
Yeah,
nice
sure.
autumnal.
Yeah, it does. We'll definitely do that. But yeah, thanks everybody who checked that out. The rehearsal, great stuff. Let's talk about now. Okay, as I mentioned, we are going on a 2-week hiatus. So yeah, the show's going dark for a few weeks. We're going really dark.
Steer yourselves for that reality.
Yeah, getting ready.
Prepare.
Get ready.
Yes.
Doomsday prep.
Canned peaches.
Right.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Exactly.
Going dark.
I just love how you're framing this.
I know.
It's
Going
like,
dark.
okay, like cards on the table.
Yeah,
Going
exactly.
dark for 2 weeks.
We're going dark. It's going to get bad. But anyway, so now would be a good time to, check out the 1 fucking hour Patreon. So definitely get up on the Patreon, because if you're not up there already, there's tons of new hours.
Bill Maher's on Patreon.
Yeah, Bill Maher's on our Patreon.
I know. Yeah, join him.
Join him.
It's the best way to chat with us at 2 a.m.
true.
Send us a chat.
There is
No
chat
guarantees.
There is chat rooms up on the 1 fucking hour Patreon. Patreon.com/1 fucking hour. Sign up there. Or if you want to do it on YouTube, just go to our channel homepage, click the join button, sign up there. Same price, same benefits. But there's tons of bonus material there, so you won't miss us for the 2 weeks we'll be gone. Just want to give a quick shout out to that. But let's talk about what we're doing when we get back from this hiatus, because we're starting things out with quite a bang here. Because last year we did quite the epic summer series. Last year we did this
loved it.
really fun thing where
God, that was good.
was that the 90s thing? Is that what it was?
Yeah, it started with my
that was
birthday.
nice.
Yeah.
The Slacker, 1990.
That's
and,
right. That's right. We did sort of an exploration of one film from each year of the 90s
fun.
for the whole summer. It was 10 weeks. It was so much fun. But this we're gonna do something a little different. We're gonna tackle a genre. Okay, and this is gonna be from all eras. We're gonna hit. I'm hoping Tom will hit the 40s, perhaps, maybe the 50s,
Maybe
60s, 70s,
Lots
80s,
of options. Yeah.
90s, 2000s.
Train robbery.
I was gonna make that joke. I was gonna make that one.
I love the great.
Slow.
Yeah.
I know I was gonna wait for the theme to after we said the theme of it.
Oh well, you were.
Kind of slow.
All right. So.
All right.
All right. Sorry. All right. So what we're gonna do, and we've been teasing this for a while because we noticed a lot of the films on our sort of, short list that we want to cover here in the show all kind of fit under this umbrella. So we're going to be doing, and it fits for the summer too, especially. We're going to be doing maybe we'll get a better title, but 1 fucking summer crime wave series. We're going to be doing crime films from all decades. And it's going to be very fun. We're going to do a bunch of different stuff we've wanted been doing for,
God,
forever.
there's so many.
There's so many.
Yeah, movies from the very beginning of this stupid little enterprise. So,
Yes.
that were discussed, and we still haven't gotten around to.
I know.
But yeah, but a lot of range. There'll be all kinds of ways we address the genre of crime, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yes.
Some 90s, some 80s, some 70s, some 60s, and who knows?
Who knows? Could be crazy. We might get a little.
Great train robbery.
Who knows? There it is. All right, so there it is. There you go. All right, so but we're gonna start it out with the very first film we're gonna get into. This is definitely a 1 fucking hour type film. We've talked about it a bunch. Other people have recommended it. Very excited about it. I have a first edition of the book that it's based on. We'll probably drag that out.
Sick.
We're going to be doing it. The Friends of Eddie Coyle is going to be number 1. Very exciting for that movie. Just absolutely.
Honestly, that was one of the first 3 titles we were batting around when we started the fucking hour.
I
really,
know.
and we knew, like, actually, we probably knew that it would be blanketed inside of a larger genre, like series. So, but it's time now. Here we go.
It is. It's absolutely amazing film from 1973. Peter Yates directed. Robert Mitchum, of course. Peter Boyle returns.
Peter Boyle's back.
Wow,
hardcore.
Yeah, he's back.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll every other
MVP.
episode we'll do a Peter Boyle.
And one thing I like, not to drag it on too much, but like, there's something about crime films and place. Like for some reason, very often, like the city matters, like in a very specific way.
Yeah.
And so what I'm saying is, in this film, like, we're getting into like gross, weird 1973 Boston.
Yes.
Which is a weird wavelength to be in.
It's awesome.
Like, there's not a lot of Boston cinema
Yes.
from the 70s.
Yes.
But when it happens, it's pretty gnarly. So
So yeah. So
hang out
everyone,
in Boston.
let's do it. Everybody get ready for the gritty crime film summer. It's going to be very fucking awesome. We're going to do that. The only asterisk I'll put on this is we have kind of an absurd idea for an episode that we might do, right when we get back, just before the crime series kicks off. So we're either going to come back for the crime series or there's going to be one episode before it. So one or the other, but we'll be back with a bang, and that's what we're doing. So everybody get ready and get your pre-watch in for Friends of Eddie Coyle if you've not already seen it. Mm-hmm. And I already shouted out the Patreon. So everybody have a good rest of your, I guess, June, early to mid-June. And we'll see you when you get back. And of course, we cannot leave you without your Moment of Zen. All right, everybody. All right, so long. We'll see you, I guess, mid-June. Okay, second or third.
See you guys later.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, see you later.
Bye.
Summer.
But my rec is the Nathan Fielder new rehearsal.
It's
season.
amazing.
Hey, man, this guy is on another level. He's like, he makes me feel like a fraud. What the fuck? As a comedic person, he's so
He's
unique
amazing.
and like weird and abstract. And I'm sure not everyone gets it, but if you get it, it is.
Do you have to see season 1 to see season 2?
Not at all.
All right, I'm gonna check it out.
Motherfucking goddamn orange peel beef.
That was wicked, man.